Shalom Israel, giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadai, Barakatai How, Barakatai Yahushai, double honors to the apostles, elders, bishops, great millstone, much salutation to the brothers teaching word for the hopeful elect, soon to be the elect, most high will. The hopeful extended elect, Shalom, blessings. Getting that word president, and comes from that word preside. You can look this up yourself. The word president originates from the Latin word praedere, meaning to preside over or to sit before. This Latin term is derived from pray before and sedere to sit. Over time, the term evolved to denote a person who presides over a meeting, an organization, or a governing body, which we have presidents over here, just like they have presidents on the other side of the world. Now, we know Trump is a puppet, but he's also sitting in the seat as a king, this is the king of Babylon. And I looked the word president in the scriptures because it's in there. Let me go back. So you can go to Daniel 6:3. It says, then this Daniel, the word Danyala, was preferred above the presidents and princes. Now you see that word president, and the next word is princes. What comes after a king, a prince? Because of an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. So like it says, preside, to set over, like a government. It's a government over here. Yahweh Shai is a prince, known as the Prince of Peace. His titles, he's a Prince of Yashala. He's going to be a governor. And government comes from controlling the mental, controlling the minds of the people. You can go, and I ask, does a king lead in a monarchy? A king or a queen is head of state. The British monarchy is known as a constitutional monarchy. Well, we got the Constitution over here. It's shits now, but we have that over here. This means that while the sovereign is head of state, the ability to make and pass legislation resides with an elected parliament, which is an election over here. Got electoral vote and everything. Now, let me see. I've looked this up before. Is the president head of state? Yes, the president of the United States is the head of state. In addition to being the head of state, the president also serves as the head of governor and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And it tells you the president's role as the head of state involves representing the nation of both domestic and international platforms. And then you go to, it also says, which is the strongest? The king, you mentioned the king, one of them. because it talks about how his soldiers follow his commands, which is of a monarchy. Um, Let me see, because it gives you, if you know that. So it was asked a question: what's the strongest, wine, women, or the king? And a man answered. The second man answered, the king is strongest, and it tells you he gonna say why he. The third wrote, the strongest, women are the strongest, but above all things, truth beareth victory. And then um, and they, let me see. And the first wrote wine, the second wrote the king, and the third wrote women. Uh, I'm trying to look up their passage why they said the king is the strongest. Let me see. Which is not. I mean, it says truth beareth the strongest of all. I'm just. So getting. I don't know if I'm being able to find it like this. It says the argument for the king being the strongest stems from the absolute power and authority attributed to a monarch in ancient times. Here's why the argument for the king being the strongest is presented in this context. Absolute obedience. The text highlights that people obey the king's commands without question. That's what they do with Trump, even though he's a puppet. You know, the elites and higher authorities speak through him, and you know, he come out and speak and give an order, and people follow. Control over life and death. The king has the power to command his people to kill, release, attack, or lay waste. Where often presidents do over here, when they sign a bill into law, what have you, you know, uh, make things highly mandatory. Military authority, armies conquer and fight under the king's direction. Yeah, you want to go to war with China, go to war with Iran or whatever. President's in the seat to make that decision. Like I said, even though the higher ups talk through him, so he's in a position of a king. The president is also in a position of a king. And I looked at, when I did look up the president too, in the blue letter, you could, if you drop down, what did it say? Go back. And it'll mention, if you go down further in column of blue letter, it mentions princes. Or that, let me see, go back down. President. And the word, let me play it out loud.
Strong's H 5632. First reading, Sarach.
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 Second reading,
Sirach.
Sarech.
Sarek.
Sarech.
So it looks like Sirach in Syrian Hebrew. Chief, overseer. That's what a monarchy is. President. And go down here. It seems, however, the most simple to regard as compounded of a prince. What's a prince? A son of a king, soon to be a king. And the servile termination used in Persic as in the word. So he's definitely position of a king, and Most High is, it says in the scriptures, the heart of the king is in the Most High's hand. King of the heart is in the Most High's hand. So, you know, whatever Trump does is what the Most High wants him to do. Ushering in the Third World War, and I believe he's going to be there till it starts. When it's over, he might easily be the last president. And whatever happens, you know, the job he will do, whether he pass or whether things happen while he's in office, is according to what the Most High wants to happen. You know, and they act like they're trying to act like America has, you know, even with this independence, is not linked in any kind of biblical proportions as far as what is prophesied, you know, of a king, what is prophesied of a country, what is prophesied of a nation. You know, you know that they had a song called "The Pledge of Allegiance to the Flag, One Nation," and they used to have "Under God," but I think they took that out because they tried to separate school and religion. So they had one nation, you know, and Most High deal with nations as he deals with the other nations. He deal with America the same as a nation. But I don't even think they use that as a common term now. Maybe they're trying to get away from the biblical sense of it, you know, biblical sensation of the word. They probably just, you know, say United States. But this is ruled under, and even with these draconian laws coming, you know, really eventually turning this to a communist state, country, whatever, you will see or feel the spirit of like fashions according to the established setup of monarchy, you know, setup of kings and that's what we're gonna, Most High will, we're gonna become kings and priests. He's setting up a king establishment right here in America, right before their eyes, you know. And when Daniel says Daniel was first, he was preferred before princes, presidents, and princes, you know, because in the excellent spirit. And then the president, if you preside over, or it says present or sit before, when a king, when he talks to the people and talks to a crowd of people, he's sitting before the people. So that's what a president does too. They same thing, man. You know, basically. So, and I think one of the key words, or the key, a key reference to is power of a king and the power of a president. You know, the power in this, the power in itself. They got power to move things, do things, bring things about over the people's head, over the people's, you know, they just control matters of even though this is a so-called government establishment where you have Democrats, you know, that's all Roman stuff, man, coming back into play. This is the last leg of Rome, you know. but they want to try to give people a sense of freedom and liberty as independent within an independent country, so to speak, which there's no independence here at all. You know, you either choose Democrat or you choose Republican. It's coming like the brothers always say, two wings of the same bird. You know, as it was in Rome with plebeians, patricians. So you know, when you have those dynamics, you're really confined as a citizen with limited choices. You know, thinking you have the freedom, but still imprisoned by by those by those choices. The solution to and the answer to what you're trying to find as an independent, free citizen is confined within those boundaries, man. So you have somebody ruling over you. You have somebody telling you what to do. You know, you have somebody, a king. You know, um, and which is the Hebrew word is for malak. Let me say. Now I'll just get this. Hopefully, I'm making sense, man. Let me get duties of a king. The monarch is head of state. His main functions as head of state are to appoint the prime minister and all of the other ministers, to open new sessions of parliament, and to give royal assent to bills passed. Well, you got bills that's passed over here by parliament, signifying that they have become law. That's what they do over here, man. The sovereign acts as a focus for national identity, unity, and pride, gives a sense of stability and continuity. Officially recognized that it's the same thing, man. And like I said, that one of those key words to terms is head of state. The president is a head of state. You know, and the throne is not called a throne over here. It's called a chair. Who would take chair? Who would take office? Office is somebody that's in a certain position to do certain things. So a king is like manner in a chair or in an office. So they're trying to kind of separate, from those um, biblical proportions to, get the people's mind away from prophecy and the spirit of prophecy. But you can't. Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. You can't get rid of Yahweh Shai. You can't get rid of the Son of God. No. And he's returning. You can't stop his return. So, you know, this is what the Most High says about the kings of the earth, you know, and the king's heart is in the Most High's hand, you know. Uh, so definitely, we're in the same. Let me see. I'm gonna say, did Rome have a king? Let me see what it says. Yes, ancient Rome did have kings for the first 244 years of its existence. There you go, that time period. Every 250 years, kingdom is brought down. Rome was ruled by a monarchy. The traditional list includes 7 kings, starting with Romulus, and ending with Lucius Tarquinius, 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 Tarquinius Superbus. The monarchy was overthrown in 509 BC and the Roman Republic was established. The Roman monarchy was characterized by the king holding supreme power, and they exercised white supremacy over here. They exercised presidency supremacy over here, you know, including judicial legislation. They got a legislation over here, a judicial system over here, executive authority, often referred to as imperium. The king was also the commander in chief of the army and could issue decrees with the force of law. That's what they're going to do with the draconian laws, and that's what they do with their military forces and their police forces. They issue a decree with the force of law. You know, they did it with the COVID. You know, you can't wear, you got to wear the mask, or you might go to jail or be fined. Time in prison with everything. Well, you could walk across the street and they'll give you a ticket, and if you don't pay that ticket, you could be fined even more, or jail time, and along with all these other laws that they passed. It says it served as the king's pleasure and had limited power compared to the king. Well, it's like I didn't read that. While the Senate existed during the monarchy, it served as at the king's pleasure and had limited power compared to the king. So yeah. So it's no different, man. President, same thing. So like we always say, Most High is gonna let it do what it do, and you can't run from biblical portions, biblical prophecy, biblical, the spirit of prophecy, which is Yahweh Shai, and He's gonna be the king over all. He's gonna be the governor. He's gonna govern the people. We gonna govern these nations after He takes them down. You know. And even if when He came as a on an ass, He was still a king. You know. So, and also, king doesn't have anything to do with position. You know, as far as certain things the Most High wants to bring into play. It even says in the scriptures, I see servants on horses and princes walking the earth. That's servants, man. You know, so they don't know we're princes of power. You know, but they will exercise a subliminal kingship over here without those being the terms as a president. You know, and we're in the fashion of this Roman matrix that has everything to do with royalty and supremacy and all that. So Most High is exercising that within us. We're going to be kings and priests. Most High will. We're of royalty, even though it doesn't look like it. They didn't think Yahweh Shai was that. He didn't come in king's garments. So a president don't have to have this royal garment of the ancient Roman custom fit, outwardly appearance to have, to have the spirit of a king, or the heart of a king, And the Most High designed all that. He designed all that. This is spiritual chess we're playing. I'm gonna make a video called Spiritual Chess, and I do want to get into. I'm gonna still make the Operation Matrix, but I don't want to. I had several subjects, and I don't want to make it that like that. I just, I kind of, chose a few subjects, and I think is going to deal with more about the, NASA, the MOTB, science. Nothing too savvy or extreme, man. Or what is that, DARPA, and some the technology and all that. So anything that kind of do with that, or sci-fi, or movies. But I just had listed too many subjects. But I still want to, every now and then, I still want to do that. So anyway, hopefully it was edifying. To the next video. Shalom.